electronic devices such as laptops and put your cell phones on live. This session is being videotaped and will be made available on the CA website for viewing. One further warning, if candidates not honor the time limit or there are disruptions from the audience, I used to have an air horn, but I don't have the air horn to the popular demand. But I do have a whistle. In place of the air horn, a whistle. Please don't make me have to use it, because if I have to, I'm going to go back to the air horn next time. Now, for the first candidate to introduce themselves, I'm going to pull a name out of the hat. And we just go on down the line.
They're on either side, though. You got two.
Yes, I should use it. And I'm going to ask the candidates to use it too, because there are people with hard of hearing and they can't hear you back. So, okay, please remember, you have only 2 minutes to introduce yourself, and I'm going to pull a name out of the hat. We're going to start with Art Conlon.
Winner, chicken dinner.
And we'll go in that direction. So you'll be second.
So there's a lot more to say than I can say in 2 minutes. Some of you know me. I've been here since about the year 2000 and raised my family here. My daughter was a recipient of the scholarship from the ambassadors, which we're very grateful for. My focus really, and what I'm going to answer my questions on, is going to be based around identifying strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. In the corporate world, they call it a SWOT analysis. And just real briefly, I look at our strengths here as our big strength is our volunteerism. The groups in the community that we have, the leadership that is performed, and this is really helping raise up our children. It's also one of our greatest opportunities, and we need to engage our group leadership more, and we need to listen to them more, and that's something that I pledge to do. In terms of weaknesses, I do have some concerns that may indicate some financial issues. There has been upwards of $500,000 that has been diverted out of our dredge fund, and maybe rightfully so, but I do want to see that money is restored and made whole before it's time to dredge again, and I hope it doesn't point to future financial problems. I've kind of identified opportunities and weaknesses and strengths. When it comes to a threat, folks, we don't live in a bubble. And we have to look outside our community because we have faced some threats from the outside. Fortunately, we've had a great response lately to the upstream issue regarding Peru Creek. And I want to really applaud those people, but I also have to admit, several years back, there were a few of us that expressed some concerns about the permit application. And we really didn't respond to that. So in the future, we're going to really need to focus on the outside threats outside of the bubble that we live in.
Thanks, Art. Hi, I'm Brian Kimball. I have been in the Lake St. Louis Community Association now for about 10 years. My wife and son are here. We have a daughter as well who's at Timberland. She's working at the car wash tonight, which is good. So if you go to the detail-driven car wash, that's where she's at. First of all, I want to say that we love this community. We got very lucky when we moved here because I had basically one weekend to find a house somewhere in the St. Louis metropolitan area when I moved here for work. And happened to stumble upon a house that was for rent here in the area. It was the most expensive one of them all, and I told my wife, I'm like, yeah, this one's really expensive, but you wouldn't believe the community association, everything you get out of this place. So we put down a deposit, moved into it. About 6 months later, realized that this is the place we wanted to raise our kids, so we bought the house from the owner, and it's pretty much history since then. So we love this community. We're going to be here for a long, long time. And I think part of what drove me to run for board was really to give something back to this community that's given us so much. And I know there's a lot that goes into this position. It's not an easy position from what everybody has told me. I think you're loved and hated by equally the same number of people at all the same time. So I'm not exactly looking forward to that part of it, but I really do think that, to keep this community in a position to where it's fiscally viable for the long-term future of not only my kids, but hopefully, if my kids have kids and they move to the area, that they can have the same amenities that, they've grown up with. It's very important. There's a lot of things that are pressing for the board to address now. Obviously we have a general manager issue that's come up recently. Got to address that issue. That's top of the board as far as issues are concerned. We have an issue with the dredging. I think Art was talking about it, but we've got a lot more soot and silt and stuff like that that's come into this lake at a lot higher rate than we anticipated. So that fund has got to be addressed. So there's a lot of pressing issues. I feel like my experience in the corporate world is good, and I'll be a good candidate for you for board. Thank you.
I wore pants tonight. I wore pants in April. Okay. Good evening. My name's Tom DeLong. I've been here over 40 plus years. I've been a member of this association in Lake St. Louis. More than that, I've been your neighbor. I participated with the ski club. I've been part of the tennis association. I've been part of the triathlon as a participant and as a volunteer. That's not happening anymore. I've been part of the Lake St. Louis, but the soccer club coach for 10 years. Point being is that I've interacted with this community. I know a lot of the members. Many of you out here already know me. Some of you know me through my construction business. I retired 5 years ago from the concrete business when I built driveways, and I've dealt and interacted with the architects and engineers. I've dealt with the HOA presidents of associations, the board members. I've helped with the dredge. This will be coming my 5th event in the dredge. In my construction business, I participated in 3 of those dredges, helping the maintenance crew to do the dredging, working with the pipes to dredge the funds, or the ditch up north. I've been involved in a lot of those things. The point in telling you my background is to just simply share with you that I've interacted with this community. I think I know a number of you out here. What I bring to the board is that we have a lot of construction projects going on, the dredge being one of them, but we have a lot of maintenance issues around here. We're buying massive equipment, $500,000 equipment. We're buying excavators and crawler loaders. I've got experience with that. I own them. I sold them all, but I own them at one time. Just to give you some background on my volunteerism, I've been on the E&F committee. I was a member of the Tennis Association for over 30 years. I was past president of it. I've sponsored those things. I've donated pedals. Point being, folks, I think I'm a great candidate for you. If you agree with me, vote for me. If you don't, God bless you. Hope you have a good time.
I'm Kurt Lynn. I'm the experienced board member up here. I've had 6 years being on the board. I don't think any of the others have been on the board at all. I also have decades of experience on the subcommittees, E&F subcommittee. I've been to Lakes and Parks often. I've been to the finance committee. Been on the finance committee for years. While I was on E&F, I have committed a large amount of my background, experience, etc. in this community association, doing the work of the community association. Dredging has been mentioned. There's probably not a single person here that knows as much about the dredging operations, why we have to dredge, how we get the dredge to the silt basin, how we empty the silt basin so we can dredge the next time, as what I have. Possibly some of the employees, but other than the employees, I'm confident as a homeowner, I have the most experience on the dredging, which is a significant event. I'll say I've been here since 1997. I have a wife, 4 kids, 2 grandkids. Worked at Boeing for 38 years now. I'm an engineer. That's my strength on the board, is an engineer. I'm not the best people person. I'm nervous up here talking in front of you. Sorry, my voice is quivering. But I do give the board some history, some background, some engineering for the board, and I think I am a good candidate to complete the 9 years that I'm allowed to complete, which would be one more time being elected. Thank you for your vote if you consider to vote for me.
Hi, everybody. My name is Jay Mansfield. Thank you for showing up tonight and showing an interest in your community. I am the least experienced person running. I bet you probably didn't think you were going to hear that tonight, but that's the fact of the matter is that I have less experience than everybody else up here. I've been in the corporate world for about 12 years, and I was in the Army for 5 years before that, Iraq War veteran. But, I moved into this community about 3 years ago, and, it's really kind of taken me and my family in, and, smart person once said that decisions are made by those who show up, and that's something I want to do. I want to show up and put in my time to make this community the best that it can be. I have a 3-year-old and a 7-year-old that I'm raising in this community. They're finally a little bit more independent, freeing me up to do some things like this. So we're out of diapers, which is a big deal. But I serve on the Lake St. Louis Parks Board as well, and that's given me a lot of joy and opportunity to kind of learn a little bit about being a part of the process, and I'd like to transition that to doing some work here at the CA. And I'm proud of the work that we've done with the Parks Board, the events that we hold, and the meadows. We're about to break ground on the ice rink and some other things there. And while I play just a very small part of that, I'm really proud of that work. And hopefully you'll see something and you might want to vote for me. Hopefully you read the bio. I'm not going to sit here and read my resume to you, but I think I could do some good here. So appreciate your vote.
Okay, we've got a list of questions here. I'm going to start out with a lengthy one, but here it is. It says, what is your knowledge of the Farouk Creek watershed and the future alliance? And will you support the efforts of obtaining 319 funding for the stabilization of the creek? And your first up.
Yeah, I'm familiar with the Alliance. I've been basically in contact with board members that are friends, and I've obviously watched, or listened to, I should say, some of the meetings that are on, but I was getting on there. I've also listened to the meetings, board meetings that have been on YouTube, so I'm still aware of a lot of things that are going on with that issue. I do think a coalition with other cities and areas that are affected by the upstream activities makes a lot of sense. As far as going forward, I think we need to really look at what our forecasts are for when we do dredging, readjust our budget accordingly, because it seems like it's going to be happening more and more often as more residential flow goes into that creek, which obviously comes into our lake first, and then hopefully at some point out to Mississippi, but it takes a lot of work to get there. So that's something I'm in favor of. And next person, I guess. Who's next? Tom?
My next.
Yes.
My knowledge of that is basically like everybody else in the community is. I've attended a bunch of meetings, ENF and Dan Oakley. Please run for mayor. I understand what it is. I know what the funding is about. I think we're way behind the curve that should have been done with our history of Peru Creek. Something that probably should have been done a while back when I was on ENF. A lot of discussions took place to work on the upstream area, but that wasn't a priority of the committee in large or the board at the time. So we're playing catch up again. I think our board needs to be a little more forward thinking and protecting our rights as owner members. We own this lake. We're not just owner members. We own our owners. And I think we need to take it back and spend our energy acting as neighbors and working to protect our resources. That's what I know about it. That's what I feel about it. And Kurt's all yours.
I'll say I'm very familiar with the Farouk Creek watershed. I've committed, again, decades of support to the Farouk Creek watershed, dredging of our lake, care of the water, the quality of the water, participated with water testing back in the late 90s, early 2000s. I'm familiar with the watershed rate of flow, what the million gallons will mean or not issue at PWSD, and I presented as a resident, not as a board of director member, to the PWSD, and I am obviously very familiar with the group that is working, and I've supported as a board member the group that's working on getting us the getting us the protection for our watershed. One issue I will say is we are a private entity. We need to get city support. Not everyone understands that. It takes cities to make this happen. And we're working with our city, Winsville, O'Fallon, upstream further, St. Charles County. A group of citizens isn't going to get this done. It's going to take the community, these cities. Thank you.
This is a very important issue, obviously. The fact of the matter is it's an $800 million facility. You know, that's big business, that's got deep pockets, and we're not gonna win this battle alone. So me, J.R. Maxfield, I can't do anything but cast one vote, but we as a community have a big voting block that we can leverage. We need to be working with our state representative, Justin Hicks, and other people in the state government to lobby Jefferson City on our behalf to tell them what we're concerned about. The upstream issues are going to be a problem for us. We don't want to be a documentary, a cautionary tale in the future to prevent it now. We need to talk to our state government and let them know what we're concerned about so that they lobby on our behalf and are helping us to put laws in place to manage this water. That's our solution, is working with the state government.
Hi, so a comment was made to me right before the meeting that I think really typifies this. We have a lot to protect here at Lake St. Louis. Our valuation of the recent assessment for our homes around here exceeded $30 million, and our lifestyle and our property values are potentially being threatened by this. And it's really two different tales. One is what we should have done 3 or 4 years ago. That $800 million plant probably could have been stopped by us, because if you look at the facts, it doesn't make sense to be dumping 3 million gallons of water a day into a stream that was already got too much water flow for a lake our size. It's also going to bring down, somewhere in the vicinity of 50 million or 50 tons of phosphates and nitrates, which are going to increase sedimentation into the lake. As far as what I've done, I've met with Senator Shore, Dan Overly, obviously one of our local expert, Congressman Onder, and Joe Brazil, our county commissioner on this. And, they're all very concerned. They're all in opposition to this having happened. And, we're now at the point where we do need to work with the DNR, and that's the direction we have to go in the future. And I applaud the efforts of the people that are involved with this project and plan to be part of it.
The next question is, I have read all your biographies and goals if you're elected. What is the one distinctive objective of yours that would make me want to vote for you?
You folks know me. I've made it clear with anybody who's talked to me personally, is that the word transparency is a great buzzword around here, but it's not happening. When you have to wait 10 months to get access to an audit to find out what's been spent, where it's been spent, to come up here and ask questions and to be rebuffed or denied completely, as an owner member, I don't appreciate that. I think all of you should be having the information. All of us should have the information as soon as it's available. My issue, my hot button is transparency. I hope to bring that to the forefront in terms of talking or sharing what we've done in the meetings, not just these executive sessions that they don't carry minutes for or propose to us. So I share with you, my hot button is transparency of this association. That's what I'm after.
What I work to do, and it's out of my bio, is maintain and improve our amenities. I put a lot of effort into our amenities. I've worked hard with the water quality of both lakes. So to me, maintain and improving the amenities, which then ultimately affects our home values, and that's in a positive way. If we lose our amenities, if we lose the quality of our lakes, if we lose the quality of our amenities, then our housing values go down. That to me is what's probably most important for everyone. Now, there's also, when you do maintain the amenities, we get the enjoyment of the lakes, you get the enjoyment of the parks, everything else. But to me, I will be voting to maintain and improve the amenities, improve hospitalities. Thank you.
I love this question. The fact is I have no single objective. I have nothing, no hot button issue, no grievances, nothing was, rubbed me the wrong way and made me say I need to run for this board seat. To me, I just want to be a part of the community, and I'll just basically serve and honor the facts and the common sense approach and pursue that. Like, whatever the situation is, I'll gather all the research and I'll speak to the community. I want to hear what's important to you, your views and opinions, and I'll do what's best for the most, and that's all I can really say to that view.
So, truthfully, I have two answers to this, I'm sorry. One is what we just spoke about, our stream quality and our water quality is paramount to me. It's bothered me since I've lived here, and I refuse to accept the idea that we can't improve it. And we need to be innovative, and we need to think about new ideas. The other thing that really probably is my hot button is when I see people not being treated fairly or being treated poorly when it really didn't need to happen that way. And I know that there's conflicts in a community association, okay? It happens. But I do think there's ways to negotiate and in a friendly attitude, sit down with somebody over a cup of coffee and talk things out, negotiate things out rather than ending up in a courtroom. And I'd like to see people and businesses treated a little more fairly than they have been in the past.
Well, I agree with a lot of what's been said up here so far. I think, really to me, it's what we can do with our dollars. I mean, that's what it is. I mean, we've got a very limited budget here, without having to raise assessments and go through that whole entire ordeal, which we did a few years ago. We've got to look at what's really the most important things that we have here as a community. And really, it's our lake. Our lake is what makes us special. That's what drives people to want to move here, live here, raise their kids here. And with the lake comes the amenities that are around it. So I look at my dock that I have, it's in disrepair. I know it's on the slot to be repaired hopefully in the next year or so. But there's things I see all over the CA, all of our facilities and all of our amenities that need help. So now we don't have a lot of money to do a lot of stuff with. So when people say, hey, what's the hot button thing? I want us to make everything we have right now better and make it a longer lasting quality to where it can be enjoyed down the road for years and years and years.
I have terrible handwriting. You can't believe some of the handwriting I'm trying to. Okay, our next question is, our infrastructure is aging and in need of serious renovation or replacement. What is your plan or program to deal with this? First.
Let's see, definitely infrastructure is aging. I've been active at working with the entire community, looking at our infrastructure. We abandoned a pipe, that's a drawdown pipe for the large lake that goes underneath the dam. I don't know if people are familiar with that, but 30 years ago, that drawdown pipe was used and it wouldn't close again. We drained the lake all the way to Nellie's Point. That was a bad thing. So we have abandoned that pipe, but we still have a little issue that there's some flow going through that pipe. Myself and Aaron are leading the effort to work with figuring out what is the issue, why did the abandonment of that pipe not work. Another area that we're working with is the small lake spillway. There was some damage to the concrete in the small lake spillway. We're actively getting bids. We're working to get that repaired. I'll be supporting that. I've been more active than anyone in the community and all of the infrastructure within this community. I'm very comfortable with that statement. It's not right, it's the truth. I think hire me back because other people don't have the experience I do.
So I just lucky enough to actually have some experience with this recently with the Lake St. Louis Parks Board. So we've been doing a needs assessment for all of the city parks and trying to understand what our parks need. And the truth is, without expertise, you don't know what your gaps are. And we brought in a consultant that helped us understand this needs assessment and pointed out things that we didn't even think about. For example, a lot of our walking paths were ADA compliant, yet, family members not able to attend soccer and baseball games because they weren't able to get there. It's a blind spot for us. So I think the first step is a needs assessment, and then you can't do everything. That's just the fact of the matter. So it's triage. What's most important to us? But let the community be a part of that. Bring it to the meetings, share what the needs assessment shows, and then talk about the dollars and cents and say what's important to you and go after those things.
Exactly.
Go about that.
So I do think that we have some aging infrastructure, but I don't think it's that big a deal. And it's nothing we can't handle. A lot of this does come down to prioritization of this, what's important. And I would agree that a lot of this will come down to not necessarily the board making the decision on what's more important, but to the community voicing those concerns. So that as a member of the board, I can make sure that I can direct our activities in the area that you guys think is the top priority. There are some issues, like the drawdown fight, that have to be addressed. I mean, that's kind of a no-brainer. We don't have that many of those. We've got a great golf course if you've been out on it lately. In fact, it's outstanding. Even though it's a smaller golf course, I'll compare that to any golf course I've been on in terms of its maturity and how well taken care of it is. So I don't think there's anything here that we can't handle. It's a matter of prioritization and wise use of our funds.
So I'm a big believer in the decentralization of any kind of government. I think that we need to really empower the committees that do a great job, the volunteers that are in those committees to really identify the areas that are within their committee scope, recommend those to the board. And then, in my opinion, the board should come up with several improvement items and probably send that out to some sort of a vote to the members to see what the members think their priorities are. I mean, we're all in this together, it's our money, right? Why don't we all have to say what is first, second, third, fourth, fifth on the list? That's how I would think. Thank you.
This goes back a little bit to the fact that I'd like to have some information. We are a community of 4,000 residents. The resources, the knowledge of this community is just, I mean, when I reach out to do the work with the community, I find people who have skills that I didn't have any idea they have. I think we've got people in our community who could assist us and help us with these different things. The pump, they're talking about spending $65,000 to $95,000 for a pump for this golf course, $65,000 or $50,000 for a fence on the pool. Those kind of things we as neighbors need to know. Maybe we can assist, maybe we have some information to offer, maybe we have some alternatives to offer. I think as a member of this community, we should reach out to our community. I don't know if it's a newsletter. We just can't say, come on up and talk to our committees. We need to reach out to the community. And that's why I think that this would be a good idea to move forward with, including the infrastructure.
Next question is, we have 4 years before the next dredging, and Dolphin Cove is already 3 feet deep. Will it make it 4 more years?
Yes or no?
I have no idea. That's a great question. That's where we bring in some expertise. Sounds like even on this panel, there's a lot more expertise in this space than I've got, but it sounds pretty shallow. Doesn't sound like it's going to make it, so I think we're going to have to come up with a contingency plan, and that's where it would start out. What are we going to do? What's best case scenario, worst case scenario, and something in the middle is probably where you're going to end up.
So it's true, it is 3 feet deep down at the end of Dolphin Cove, and out in front of my house, when boats go by, I can see the mud being stirred up with the propellers, and I don't live down at the end of Dolphin Cove. I talked to a friend of mine who recently had to push his dock down into the mud farther so that he could get his boat down into the water. So, I mean, it's clearly not going to last 3 years. We need to dredge fairly quickly here. And so, again, this comes back to the financial issue of, okay, do we have the money? money for it. But also, the other question is, I think we have to be innovative a little bit in looking at other alternatives that we may have to improve the situation over time. There may be a point in time where we need to own our own dredge and be a smaller dredge and dredging constantly. Now, Kurt would be the expert on that I would defer to, and that may be impossible. But we need to think about these other ideas, but we need to be innovative because it's not going to last 3 years because there's clearly no.
Yeah, my expertise on this is basically, when we dredged last time, I drove that area, my depth finder said it was 10 feet, now it's 3. So obviously there's a problem. How do we go about doing it? I mean, everybody that's talked, I mean, Kurt is an expert in this area, he's done a lot of the dredging stuff. You know, Art talked about where's the money gonna come from? Do we need to reallocate that budget so that we know that maybe the dredging activities are not gonna be an every 3-year or every 2-year type thing instead of an every 4 or 7-year type thing? So, you know, that's what it comes down to is we know we have to do it, otherwise our lake becomes a lot smaller, right? We can only use certain parts of it, or we're all gonna be basically driving around in those flat bottom bass boats, you know. So we gotta do something. It just comes down to money and how to figure out the best way going forward.
As I said, I have been here for 4 dredges. I participated in 3 of them with the maintenance crew. Actually marked logs, helped try to dredge with machinery, went through a couple of trials with the maintenance staff to how we can do this in a bigger, better way. You may not be aware that the last dredge did not get completed for a variety of reasons, primarily that we filled the silt basin before we had it all done. Kurt is the knowledge because he's been on the board and getting the information that the rest of us haven't had access to. But I tell you, it's not a matter of can we wait. We don't have the money. It's been used for equipment and other things, so that dredge fund, and again, I have to share with you just my impression is that it's not there for us to utilize. I think it should be accelerated to a faster period, but that's my opinion until I get the information about what's available. I really can't comment further.
So, I don't think we'll make it to 28. I think 26 and 27 is far more likely. We're obviously monitoring that. I'm the liaison to the E&F committee where we have dedicated people working to watch this. I also participate with the finance committee representatives up here and disagreed with the statement that we won't be ready to dredge when it's time to dredge. I, as a board of director, believe that we'll be ready to dredge when it's time to dredge. I, as a board of director member, have been very active to make sure that our silt basin would be ready when we're time to dredge. I just talked today with our manager of our maintenance crew, and he said how far along he was and how good our silt basin is getting ready to dredge. So we won't have to spend the $200,000 to $300,000 that we had to spend last time to get the silt basin in. We're prepared. We can execute. It's a little sooner than we want.
The next question is, the current bylaws do not require the board to develop and maintain a long-range plan for the CA. If elected, what are your thoughts on changing the bylaws to require the board to develop a long-range plan?
So, long-range planning should be like first and foremost on our minds. Do we need to change the bylaws to do that, to have a long-range planning committee? Maybe, maybe not. I'm not sure that's the main thing. I think the main thing is that, you know, as we've talked before, we're not living in a bubble here. We need to look at outside threats. We need to look at our strengths, weaknesses, our opportunities, and identify those. And it's really the long-range planning committee that probably should be in charge of taking a look at a lot of these outside threats to our community. Because this one thing we're talking about is not the only one, folks. We have the Love's Truck Stop, and the CA really was immune on that issue. But it was right outside our boundary, right up against us. Winsville Mayor, it was in their city limits, but it was farther removed from him. He was the guy that really stopped that project. We need to think along those lines about the influence we can have as a community, and the long-range committee should be in
have a long-range planning committee. I think whether or not it's part of the bylaws may not be necessary, but the way I look at it is that for any of these things that are very expensive for us to do, we look at things we want to do to get better amenities, future developments, whatever it is that we have to do. We have to have a long-range plan to be proactive to get there, because obviously we have to set aside money to do those larger type items. And so to have a long-term committee that can look at things that are 10, 20 years out, stuff that maybe the current board is really not focused on because there's so many current day problems that they have to deal with, would be a great idea. And if it has to be part of the bylaws, then that may be good, may not be necessary. But I do agree with the idea.
I can't tell you that I'm conversant on the need for changing the bylaws. Long-range planning is true with any business that's looking forward to improving and participating down the road. And hopefully, we're still gonna be here. I don't know the need to changing bylaws, so I can't address that issue. I'll leave it at that.
I don't know if the bylaws need to be changed. I do think we should announce that there is a master planning committee. Not everyone knows that. That master planning committee is made up with board of directors, finance representatives, E&F representatives, Lake and Park representatives, other representatives from clubs, and former board members. That committee is looking at long-range planning, believe it or not. That we're looking at what is all of our facilities, what is the value of our facilities, how often should we have to repair or expect to replace our facilities, what is the cost budget going to be to do that. Then we're going to be looking at what is the expected expenditures in the future, and in all honesty, can we make this work with no increases, or does it really look like, as a result of this long-range planning, that we may have to go for increases to our assessments? That's what this master plan committee is attempting to do. That's what I think long-range planning is.
I think the obvious answer to this question is yes, you should have a long-range plan. I don't think anybody in this room would disagree with that. I mean, more or less running your own personal finances in retirement, you just have to have a long-term plan. And how can you achieve your goals if you don't know what the vision is? And so I think creating that vision, articulating it to the community with the caveat that yes, it needs to be flexible. We need a veg center, we need to do X, Y, Z center, but absolutely you have to have a long-range plan. I don't know that you necessarily need bylaws to make that happen. Apparently you might, because you don't have one, but absolutely yes for long-term.
Next question is, do you agree that all members should abide by the CA governance, bylaws, rules, and regulations?
Yeah, let's create 4 different classes of CA member, and they can all abide by their own different rules. No, of course, I mean, that's one of the things that actually I thought about when I was running for, thinking about running for this position was really, do we have people that are actually following the laws? I mean, you guys have all been on the lake, you've seen people below 3 go-away zones like crazy, drives me nuts when I'm sitting there and just swimming in, Party Cove or wherever it may be. There's not enough enforcement. We have the laws on the books. It's almost like, the federal government. We've got laws to do all these things, nobody enforces them. It's kind of the same thing here. We've got a lot of good things that are in our bylaws, but they get overlooked all the time or just ignored. So, yeah, call me the law and order candidate, I guess. But I agree that everybody that's in this room and everybody outside this room who lives in the community should abide by and follow by state laws. Just makes sense.
This is a tough one for me. Okay, watch out.
We didn't pay utility security.
Don't get my picture. The bylaws, the conflict of interest is something I brought up a year and a half ago. I didn't get access to the last minutes or audit until August, 10 months after the fact, or 8 months after the fact, of when they, how do I say this properly? Conflict of interest bylaws are there for a reason. Our board manipulated, skirted, they agreed, they got legal standing to do it, but the bylaws are, they're stated. And the opportunity to manipulate or change them not only goes against the grain, the intent of what that bylaw is. My perspective is you've got to follow the bylaws, don't manipulate around it.
Absolutely. I probably am one of the biggest police out here. I have a cell phone. When I'm on the boat, I see things. I call water patrol. I really think the rules matter. And that's what makes the CA different, is that compared to other community associations that have a lot of the same rules that we have, they don't enforce those rules. At the CA, we mostly enforce them. I wish it was even better. I would love it to be better. So absolutely. And for the conflict of interest, let's say I totally disagree with what Tom just said. I'm totally willing to discuss with anyone what he was talking about, anytime, anywhere on that.
Meet you later.
The truth is, this should be a really simple answer, but it's just not. You know, there's a little bit of gray area here. Yes, we want everybody to follow the rules. We want everybody to be neighborly, but you can't always count on that. You know, and that's what makes our community different than others, is that we can't do that. I don't need somebody to call the police, you know, when the grass is too high. You know, go talk to your neighbor. Go give them a chance to solve your problems amongst yourselves. And I don't think we need people out there policing each other and, you know, frankly, making big issues out of small problems. And so, you know, be neighborly, try to foster a good community environment, escalate as needed. But yes, we all need to follow the rules. That's what they're for. They're here to protect us and each other, but, you know, don't take it too far.
What he said. Actually, I agree with so much of what you just said. You'd like to have the laws, the bylaws, the rules, they are black and white, but there's a lot of gray area application. If you've ever known a judge and talked to a judge that has to sit down and face court cases and decide if this person's guilty and know do they deserve to be sent to prison. And, you know, and it comes down at our level. I have seen selective enforcement of the laws sometimes. As Kurt said, we're not always perfect at it, but we want to do a better job. But my key issue is not should we be following the rules so much, but my question is how are we enforcing those rules, and are we doing it in a compassionate way, and are we doing it in a reasonable way? Are we negotiating with people rather than putting the hammer down on them? Are we maybe going and speaking with them, and like I said, having a cup of coffee and you fix some of this stuff right there on the spot?
Next question. What CA committees have you served on? How many CA meetings, board, or committees have you attended in the past year?
Do you have any questions yet? I think the question is how we participated in these committees for Lake St. Louis. Just so you know, I'm a member of the Tennis Association, have been on for over 30 years, was a president for 4 years, been on the board for a long time. I was on the E&F committee for a number of years publicly before a lot of you were here. I've been asked to participate in the Finance Committee, the Lakes and Parks, the ACC, primarily because of my construction background. They asked me how to get things done, dealing not just with the committees, but also with the maintenance people, to pull trees, to dredge the lakes, to build some of the, I built the golf maintenance shed over here, by the way, on beside Court 1. My point being is that attending the meetings, I've been to 11 of the last 13 CA meetings.
10 seconds.
Their value is, the discussions are not wide open. I've been to a lot of meetings, And I've been to most of them in the last year, 11 of the last 13 years.
Question was probably written for me. Been to, as a board member, 60 to 66 approximately of the board meetings in 6 years that I've been on the board. Missed a couple, 3 through the entire 6 years. When I wasn't a board member, I wrote down in my bio, I probably totaled another 110 board of director meetings when I was the chairman of the E&F committee, or not a chairman of the E&F committee, but still going. E&F committee, I've been to about 240 of those meetings through the years, whether I was the board representative or the chairman of the E&F for most of the time. Finance meetings, I've been to about 70 finance committee meetings when I was on the finance committee. I've been to about 50 lakes and parks through the years. I've also been on master planning committee that was in the 2000 timeframe. ACC committees, I've been to a bunch of them.
Not one, not a single meeting. I gotta be honest, I haven't, and I haven't had any grievances, I embrace this community and I'm happy to live here, but I haven't had any meeting where I need to go and voice my opinion or something that I'm dissatisfied with, and I read the minutes, I stay up with current issues and what's going on in the community, but I haven't felt the need that I need to go and voice any opinion, so I read what's presented to me and I keep moving, but like I said, I've been involved in other things in the community, with the Parks Board and some other things, but I have not felt the need to attend a meeting.
So my meeting attendance, I can't sit here and tell you that it's been robust, but I have been attending meetings. I have observations from those meetings. And additionally, I've consulted with numerous people in the community regarding a meeting that I wasn't able to meet for various reasons. And regarding the committees, this is one of the things that I identified as an opportunity for us, and that is to improve the leadership in our committees, and our board needs to listen to those committee leaders. And that is one thing that I've heard from some of the committee leaders, that they felt like they've made recommendations and have been heard. Now, last year, I think that's improved. It was the year before when I started hearing a lot of this. But I do think that our committee leaders and our volunteerism is a real opportunity for growth for us.
So I've not attended any of the meetings either, but I will say that I have a friend that's on the board. I have stayed in close contact with a lot of the things that are going on with the club, with other folks that do go to the club meetings. I've actually been really busy over the last 10 years meeting with all the constituents of the CA, on the golf course, by the pool, out at the CA bar. Let's see, where's some other places where I've met constituents. But the bottom line is, when you're on your boat talking to people about what their grievances are or what their problems are with the CA, I think you gain a lot of knowledge that maybe these folks that may not attend those particular committee meetings, may not go to a board meeting, they will tell you. So as far as knowing what's going on in the community and what people really feel needs to be done here, I think I've got a great gauge on that and can bring that experience to the board. Thank you.
Next question, are you open to modifications to boat classifications? Allow newer boats in class 6.
Well, I don't know what modifications they're requesting, but in my bio, I say that I do not support any more weight, any larger boats, any larger weight producers than we already have. Our lake is not big enough, we have too much activity. I am not a proponent of increasing any of our boats' abilities to make bigger weights, anything like that. So I would fight hard not to allow worse water conditions as a result of boat changes. Now again, there could be some other new type of boat that's out there that isn't gonna make worse water conditions. I would be willing to consider that. But as far as water quality goes, I would not ever support increasing our boat size or boat weights or anything like that.
Second.
I agree with that, and the fact that I wouldn't be for increasing waves and things like that, but I think we should have an open mind, as technology and times change, just about what's out there, and be open to, might be you, the next person that comes up and wants to change, and so having an open mind and having a process for the community to ask for those changes and to submit those and to hear them out. That's what this job, in my opinion, is on the board, is to hear the community and make a decision, collaboratively. But absolutely, I think that should be something that we consider, is if you have a different vote type, or I'm not sure what exactly the person is asking, but yes, you should be heard and have a chance to voice what it is that you're interested in, and then the decision be made.
I think the primary concern here is what kind of waves this is going to create as a result of doing it. We have seen a lot of votes that have been approved that put out large waves, and we've seen votes that really aren't approvable, but yet they really don't put out that big of a wave. We recently increased the horsepower limit on the pontoon boats to 150. I think that was a major change for the good. I don't think it's creating any more weight out of those boats than what we saw out of the low horsepower limits. So I would defer to the specific application and what it is. I wouldn't be against considering it, so I wouldn't draw a line and say no increases. But if you show that it's going to increase the weight substantially, then the answer, I think in most cases, from the board is going to be no. But we need to be open-minded, like you say, to look at new technology and be aware of that.
Yeah, I too, like Kurt said, wouldn't be really open to expanding it to anything that would cause a larger wake. I think that we've done there, we've been there, done that. I don't think going to 150s really made a huge weight difference compared to something that had 75 on it before. To me, I think that if there's a new propulsion system in a boat that would cause less wake, maybe less pollution, less stirring up of, the silt and things like that, we should consider it. I mean, I know that there's, impeller propulsion systems out there that are very safe, that may be looked at. I've seen some of those on pontoon boat configurations that work pretty well. But anything that would make more wake in this bathtub lake that we've got, I mean, the waves just go from one side to the other. And we also got to look at the ballast systems that are in some of these boats too, because those aren't allowed on this lake. And I see a lot of people out there surfing that I don't know how they're making a wake that big without ballast.
Nobody here has a crystal ball with regard to what the technology is going to bring. Everybody here spoke that we don't want to do anything that will hurt the water quality of our lake. With regard to changing the boat classification, we just went to a meeting where they did allow a particular type of boat to get approved on the lake with the understanding that it had no additional water quality issues. So I think those issues have to be brought up individually as the technology and as people requesting the use of them on the lake. But I don't think anybody here is going to vote for anything that changes the water quality of our lake.
Time is up. And just as we started it, we thought drawing a name, I'm gonna draw a name out, and the candidates will have 1 minute to summarize out what they thought and any other thoughts. So the name I'm gonna pull out is, no, I can't, it's not Carmen, but it's like, Tom DeLong.
I've been around here a long time. I have questions. I think I can bring a lot to the table. I do want to applaud Kurt and our board. They're volunteers. There's a lot of time taken up with meetings and the things that they do, and going up the creek and seeing the things beyond the meetings themselves. We must applaud our board members. We don't have to agree with them, but we should applaud them for spending the time and the energy that they put forth to be our board members. And I recognize I am retired, so I've got some of that time to offer. I don't have a job other than keeping my wife happy. That's hard. But at any rate, my point being is that whoever you vote for recognizes they're giving up an awful lot of their time and energy and in many cases, money. And I'm willing to volunteer that skill and that effort if you were to vote for me.
So I guess I would say that, yes, I'm a volunteer. If you don't vote for me, I'm still gonna volunteer. I'll still be active in the community association. I guess someone mentioned that they love their house, they really like the community association. I always tell people, when I bought the house that I'm in, I'm going out horizontal. There's no going out any other way, I'm not moving, anything like that. I'm here for the long term. The other thing I will say is that there are some good candidates up here. There are some opportunities if you don't get elected as a board of director member. I and others would love to see you on some of our subcommittees. There are room in the subcommittees. It would be awesome for you to get experience in our subcommittees and maybe try again later if you don't get elected this time. So thank you.
Thank you. I appreciate the offer to join the subcommittee, but I was kind of hoping for the big show. We'll see. But, like they were saying about the volunteer thing, I just think this shows a lot about our community. We have 5 people up here, only 2 seats, but 5 people who are willing to volunteer their time and, spend time away from their families and doing other things. I could be working on my short game. I need to, but I'd like to do this instead. I think I could actually help and, be a good ear for the community to speak to so that we can hopefully move things in a direction that works for all. But I really am humbled by the chance to have an opportunity to speak with you all today, and hopefully I'll have you vote.
So I'm very appreciative to the ambassadors for setting this up. It is an amazing group of people that we have on our board currently, and as well as these, all of these candidates. One thing I wanted to bring up quickly, I'm a little bit reluctant to bring this up because I want to bring up the elephant in the room, but there is a skill set that I do have that may come into play. Unfortunately, we're going to be looking at recruiting, training, hiring, new management, it sounds like anyway. And I do have a background in that area, not only from the standpoint that I've interviewed hundreds of people, trained them in the pharmaceutical sales industry, and then I spent 5 years in recruiting. I recruited executive management across the United States. I know a lot of the ins and outs of that. So I do bring that to the table. I can support the board in that. Like I said, I'm reluctant to bring it up, but I think it would be a reason to vote for me.
Well, first of all, I'd like to say that thanks to all of you for coming out here. It shows that you care just as much as we all do about the future of the CA. And it's commendable to come out here on a Thursday night. You can be home with your family, doing all kinds of good stuff. You could be next door to the bar. Interestingly, I was speaking at an industry event where my company sponsored the happy hour, and so I kind of felt like I had some time to talk here because I was basically buying everybody drinks. Well, here I'm the one standing between you and another drink at the bar, so I'll try to make it kind of short. But I will say that I have a lot of experience in my career as far as making sound decisions, running large departments with multi-million-dollar budgets. I don't take this position lightly. I know that we all have a lot to lose and a lot to gain by having solid leadership at the CA. And if you vote for Brian Kimmel, I will give you that solid leadership, that sound decision-making, and something that you can be proud of when you bring your family, friends, and guests to the community station, to the community association for years to come. Thank you.
I'd like to thank the CA for allowing us to meet here in the ballroom. They set everything up, and did a good job by the staff as always. And I thank you all for coming. I hope this helps you to make your decision on the election for Board of Governors. Thank you all for coming. And the candidates are invited to stick around, and you're invited to stick around. If you got, you have other questions that we need to talk about. Thank you.